So if you are privy to the kind of research that David and I are doing, you'll see what I mean. There's a lot of very powerful proof out there that something very serious is going on. Now, the main thing that I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to talk about religion a little bit at first, but I've got too much to say about government right now. So I want you to understand something very clearly. When anyone asks you in this country, are you a citizen of the United States? Okay? Now, a lot of you may have heard this. I'm just going to give you a general overall picture of this. When someone asks you in this country, are you a citizen of the United States? What you think that they are asking you is, are you lawfully in this country? Are you lawfully here to do business and be here? That's not what they ask you. The country is called America. America is the name of the country. But in the 1860s, late 1860s, a group of men got together and incorporated a privately owned company. Anyone can incorporate a privately owned company, and a group of men did. They incorporated a company, privately owned, and they called the company the United States Company, Corporation. And according to corporate law, and anyone who has a corporation or a business knows that according to corporate law, all corporations must have a president. That's the law. And it must have a vice president. And it must have a secretary of treasury. That's corporate law. So the corporation had to have a president and a vice president. Today, when you see once a year at the State of the Union, when you see the president come out and the Speaker of the House says, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Everybody in this country thinks he's the President of America. America doesn't have a president. This is a corporate term used in business. The United States Corporation is a privately owned company. It's privately owned. And it's a 10-mile square that it operates in called the District of Columbia. Columbia simply means universal. This is what Catholic means, universal. When you start tracing back the ownership of the corporation called United States privately owned company, then you begin to see that if you say that you are a citizen of the United States, what you're saying lawfully is that you are an employee of a foreign corporation under international maritime law. You are an employee of a privately owned company. Therefore, if you are living in any state such as California and you're making money here, then what you are doing, quite literally, is moonlighting, because you are already working for and are an employee of a privately owned company called United States Corporation. But you are earning money in California. Therefore, you are a franchisee of a foreign corporation under maritime law. You're a franchisee. It's like opening up a McDonald's here. You can open up a McDonald's, but you're not the boss of McDonald's. The McDonald's Corporation is the boss. They tell you what you can sell and what you can't sell and how much it's going to be, and they call the shots. You can merely be a franchisee operating under their jurisdiction. So consequently, each one of us who call ourselves a citizen of the United States is in point of fact a franchisee of a foreign corporation, and once a year you have to pay what is referred to as the California Franchise Tax Board. Because you're a franchisee of a foreign corporation under international law. Let me explain something to you. There are two kinds of law on the earth. Basically two kinds of law. Roman civil law and maritime admiralty. Roman civil law comes from the word civil or civili in Latin, meaning the people of the Illies. The people of the Illies are the people of God, civili. And the civil law is referred to as the law of the land. But there is a higher law that governs the whole earth. That's the ones I think the reptilians are into. There's a higher law that operates on the earth, and it has nothing to do with the civil law of any country, because civil laws are different in every country. You can do things in Africa you can't do in Spain. You can do things here in America you can't do in France, because the people's law, the law of the land, is different according to the culture. But when you talk about the maritime admiralty law, what you're talking about is the law of water, the law of banks. Banking law is called maritime admiralty. And consequently, this is why, incidentally, the Statue of Liberty could not be put on land in this country. It had to be put in a port. It had to be put in water. Why? Because it's not the Statue of Freedom, it's the Statue of Liberty. Liberty is what a sailor gets when you pull into port, because the admiral gives the captain on the board the ship ownership of your body. You ask permission to leave. And if he lets you, which he's most likely not going to, but if he allows you to leave, you have liberty. You don't have freedom. And as long as you call yourself a United States citizen, you are an employee of a foreign corporation incorporated under international law, under maritime law, and consequently you are a franchisee of a foreign corporation. They own you. Now let me show you how they own you. When a ship pulls into port, say from Japan, and brings in, say, $800 million worth of Toyotas or televisions, the first thing the captain has to do is has to give to the port authorities something called a certificate of manifest. He has to give them a certificate showing how much each car costs, whether it has 4 doors or 2, or if it's got air conditioning or not. Every car has to have a certificate of manifest, showing exactly what are you bringing into this country, how much is it going to cost our banks, how much are we going to have to pay Japan for this. And so it's business. It comes in on water. It's maritime admiralty, banking law. And so therefore, each item has to have a certificate of manifest. And the ship, when it pulls into port, parks at the dock. And wherever it parks is called the berthing of a ship. The ship sits in its berth. Now, when you were born, your mother, her water broke. And when your mother's water broke, you came out, and therefore you are a maritime admiralty product. Under international law, you are a product. Under international maritime banking law, you are a product. Because you came out of your mother's water, and therefore you have to have a birth certificate. And the birth certificate has to be signed by the doc. Okay? And consequently, if you go to Sears and you buy something that's too large to take home, they'll bring it to you. And so they will tell you what time they're going to deliver the product. That's why your mother was in a delivery room. She was delivering a product under international law. Now, when you get the birth certificate, that is a certificate, a maritime admiralty certificate that shows you are a human resource. And the corporation called United States went to your mother and asked her, would you donate this body to us as a collateral for a loan?